One of the disturbing things that's happening in the economics community, at least among so-called left of center or progressive economists, is that they are quite literally becoming stupid. And what I mean by becoming stupid is essentially forgetting the laws of supply and demand, forgetting the first principles of economics, forgetting the very ancient truth that when you print more money and there's more money chasing the same amount of goods, that's going to cause inflation. There's no way around it. True, there could be other factors involved also, but the simple effect of turning up the crank on the printing machine, putting more dollars in circulation, in other words, for the government to spend more money by printing it, is going to cause inflation. This is let's call it an economic fact. Now, there's an article in Vox, and the article is only illuminating because it quotes a number of economists. And here's Vox. Among economists and experts, there's no strict consensus about what exactly is to blame. And then they go on talking about things like rising oil prices. Now, rising oil prices can't be the cause of inflation. Rising oil prices are a form of inflation. After all, what is inflation? Price rises. So you can't say, well, I think I know why inflation is going up. That's because the price of clothes is rising. Wage prices are rising. Oil prices are rising. You're not describing a cause of inflation. You're just describing inflation. That's what inflation is. If you're looking for a cause, you have to look at what's causing the prices to rise in the first place. And the answer, again, printing money. Now, in an interesting interview with Larry Summers, remember Larry Summers, Treasury Secretary under Bill Clinton, a reporter named Ezra Klein kind of gives the game away in a very interesting way. And it's not even what Summers replies to his question. The question itself shows you that the left tried to do something here with the economy. That's what got us this inflation. And now even the left is like, whoa, what is it that we've caused? So what I'm getting at is Ezra Klein, you can see from his question, he knows what caused inflation. And he's actually upset about it because he thought he thought the left was doing something wonderful, and it's essentially come back to bite them. So here's Ezra Klein talking in his interview with Larry Summers. He goes, there are things that feel just. Here we have the leftist. It feels just. So let's do it. There are things that feel just, that many of us have wanted for a long time. More hiring, wage increases, particularly at the bottom, stimulus checks for people that have had a lot of bad years, child tax credits for families that could really use that. So kind of what Ezra Klein is getting at is we wanted this. This has been our wish list for a long time, and COVID supplied us with the pretext. He doesn't say that, but he implies it. Let's go on. And then he goes, there was a reason the Biden administration wanted to run the economy hot. Now, run the economy hot here is essentially, you can call it shop talk for printing money. Run the economy hot means let's run the printing press, pour a bunch of money in the economy, do a bunch of things that we on the left have always wanted to do. And then he goes, even in this terrible time, this horrifying pandemic, we were giving people who needed it quite a bit of help. So the left was using COVID to create this kind of redistributionist agenda to essentially send out checks. Remember, for the Democrats, checks is a form of vote buying. This is how they win over the allegiance of people long term. And then Ezra Klein says this, and then for that to then turn into this horrifying inflation problem, which is now eating back those wage increases, I recognize the world doesn't have to please me, but it's maddening. So what Ezra Klein is saying is, we printed all this money, we thought we were giving people more, but then by getting inflation, we ended up eroding the value of their money. So a guy has more dollars in his pocket, but those dollars aren't buying any more than he could buy before. Because even if you have $100 and the government gives you 10 and you now have 110, but there's now 10% inflation, you're basically back to, back to square one. Debbie puts it perfectly. And so we see here an admission of guilt that the left caused this problem. This is a self-inflicted injury. This is not inflation that came out of nowhere. This is not due to corporate greed. In fact, Larry Summers swats down the idea that this is due to corporate greed. In fact, Larry Summers makes the point. He goes, listen, just because these corporations get on phone calls, on so-called earnings calls with their investors, and they talk about the fact that they're able to set prices He goes, it doesn't mean, they're not saying that setting prices is an arbitrary business. We can set our price at whatever we want. No, price setting is a complex business driven by competition, many other factors. If you are a business, you set your prices too high, nobody's going to buy your product. So Larry Summers pours cold water on the idea, the left's idea, again, operating in an imaginary world. Anyone who runs a business knows, I mean, I'm in the movie business. Can I set the movie ticket price as $100? Well, I'll just set it at $100. So I'll make more money. Corporate greed. Nonsense. If you set the price high, people won't go. It's not just because they may say, all right, why do you go to the movies? There are many other ways I can entertain myself. So bottom line is we're having a great erosion of knowledge about how things get done in an economy. This is a problem that the left doesn't understand, and it's also a problem that the left has created.